That's what turns it on play. You record whatever it is you want to record.
Okay, so this is the, or I could,
Or you can push it back there,
Okay.
either one.
Reading about the different kind of schools that blacks had to attend a long time ago, like in the last century, even before I was born. So it was really a long time ago, 1950s. You were reading about a gal named Barbara who made a difference, not only in her school, but she changed the lives of all black children. So it's going to be real interesting. And I'll tell you something, I didn't know a lot of the stuff that was in here, so I even learned some things, and I've been studying for a long time. The strategies that you've been working on is asking questions. Good readers, when they read, not just good readers, every reader when they read, they are asking themselves questions. And that helps you understand what you're reading, but it also helps you remember. So those are the two things that are important. When you ask a question, it's helping you remember. Like when you go to get your driver's license, when you read that driver's license manual, you're going to ask yourself questions. That's going to help you prepare for the test. But it also helps you understand the passage. So today we're going to be working on green questions and red questions, and these are things that you've been familiar with. A green question is answered right there in the book, and you have if you have to review it, it's right there. It's like a green light, you can go. Go right to the book and find the answer. But a red question is inferential. You can't just put your finger on it and find the answer. You often have to think more deeply about the passage, and those are the strategies that I'm going to teach you. A few words that I want to show you before we get started, because dilapidated is a word that you're going to come across. Dilapidated just means run down. It's in a very poor condition. Would you say this is a dilapidated school? No, not at all. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And follow along either on your in your notebook, or you can follow along up here. And I'm going to model for you a red question and a green question. Okay. In 1951, there were 21 states that forced black students and white students to go to separate schools. Stop. I could think of a question right there. Okay, so I could say, how many states had segregated schools? Can you put your finger on it? Find it. Put your finger on it. What's the answer? 21. So is that a red question or a green question? Green. So I'll just kind of just script it real quickly here. So over here would be my green question. Here's my cue. How many states had segregated schools? In 1951. And my answer is 21. Now, you're going to end up doing this today. That's what I'm modeling for you. Is when you go and work by yourself, you're going to be scripting your questions. Okay, so let's keep going. See if I can find another question. These schools were supposed to be separate but equal, but they never were. Goodness gracious, I can think of a red question there. So I might say, why weren't the schools equal? So that's going to go over here, because does it tell me why? You can talk. Why weren't the schools equal? Does it tell me why? Okay. Thumbs up if it tells you why. Thumbs down if it doesn't. Does it tell you why they weren't equal in the text? Thumbs down. Okay. Why weren't the schools equal? So now I have a question, but I don't have the answer in the book. And here's what you're going to do when you're doing this by yourself. If you can think of an answer from your background knowledge, you can add that in there. But you might just want to wait and see if it gives you more text evidence to help you. Okay, now, that was my model. Let's continue this and let's see if you can come up with some on your own. Where white schools tended to be modern and comfortable, black schools like this one were old and dilapidated. Dilapidated means old and run down. Okay. This 16-year-old had had enough. And in an act of tremendous bravery, she decided to do something about it. What followed changed America forever. Okay, turn the page. All right, so now you're going to be working with a partner to help us come up with some questions, some red and green questions. Okay, so follow along. And as we read, I want you to take your pencil. If you come up with a place you think you're going to ask a question, just put a question mark right inside. You don't have a copy, Betty? I'm sorry. Wait a minute, let me give you a copy of the magazine. Does anybody else not have a copy? Well, you were just going to sit there patiently? Bless your heart. You don't have to. Okay. All right, let's read.
No, it's fine. Go right ahead.
Anybody else? Okay. Behind a purple and gold curtain on the stage of her school's auditorium, Barbara Johns, 16, stood waiting. What she was about to do could put her and her friends and family in danger. Okay, stop. Who has a question? Turn and talk to your partner. Come up with a question. It's your job. What do you think? There you go. That's exactly right. You guys can talk together. What are you thinking? Any why? Why? Or either red or green. Okay, we've got one. Go ahead.
Why did she think that her family and friends were there?
Excellent. Now, is that red or green? Point on your thing. Red or green? Very good. It's red. Why is it a red question? Right. It doesn't tell you in the text. Good job. Anybody have another question for us? Okay, let's keep going. But she felt no fear. I could think of another question right there. Can I think of a red question? Why?
Did she have no fear?
Right. Why didn't she have any fear? Why wasn't she afraid? If she's going to put her family in danger, why isn't she afraid? That's kind of interesting. The curtain rose. Okay, so she's in this room, and with this curtain rising, a gasp rippled across the room as hundreds of students looked up at her, surprised and amazed. Give me a why question. Why?
Were they amazed?
Why were they amazed? I'm getting all down here. I want some down here. Why were they amazed? Why were they surprised? Do you know? No. So point to the kind of question. Red question. What Barbara was about to say would change their lives forever. Okay, now we have this heading, separate but equal. You all know that, what that means. Turn and talk to your partner. What does it mean, separate but equal? Go. Okay, who can explain that phrase, separate but equal, when it's related to this context? Anybody? Yes?
Even though if you're a different color, we're all the same inside.
Okay, so that you're right. We are equal on the inside. But what did the phrase separate but equal mean? Okay, let me explain to you. The schools that said, well, we can have separate schools for blacks and whites as long as they were equal. They said that was constitutional. You can do that. So you can have separate schools, but they had to be equal. That's what they were supposed to be doing. Was it true that they were separate but equal? Part of it is true. What's the true part? The schools were separate, but they were not equal. Okay. In 1951, in the rural community of Farmville, Virginia, for black Americans, it was a difficult time, not only in Farmville, but also across the U.S. A racist policy called segregation had created deep inequality. Now that is a loaded sentence right there. Got 3 black words in them. Words that they might be unfamiliar with. You understand racist means you don't think that blacks and whites are equal, right? Segregation means it had to be separated. And inequality, you know what that means. They're not equal. Okay, so reread that sentence to yourself and explain it to the person next to you. What does it mean? Okay, turn and talk. What's that? What do you think it means? A racist policy, where does that say? Find the racist. So what's a racist policy? What are you guys thinking? The racist policy means, right, and you have some whites think they're better than blacks. That would be racist, okay? And they have a segregation. They have to have separate water fountains, separate buses. Okay, gotcha. Okay, let's keep going. Under segregation, black Americans and white Americans were kept separate. And this wasn't just in schools, you know that. Blacks could not ride in the same rail cars, that's trains, as whites. Black people were forced to sit at the back of the buses while white people sat in the front. There were separate drinking fountains, and some restaurants would not even allow black people to come inside. Okay, I want you now to come up with a green question. The green question is answered in the book. Look at your card. You can start with who, what, where, when, how. From that paragraph, talk about it, come up with a green question. I'm going to have each table share their green question. Go. Okay. And if you think you need a little help, put your thumb up. All right, so think about what did this passage tell us? Right, so your question could be, how are blacks treated here? Exactly, okay, write it down. One of you write down your question. You have a Post-it note, you can do it on the back of your sheet. Did you get one? What's your question?
So what would your question be?
Her question would be, how would it be?
Now, is that answered in here?
Is
Where were, like, and where were? Good. Okay, we got one, we got one. You guys got one? Share it. So what's your question? Who couldn't go into some restaurants? Good. Okay. Who was being separated? Good. Last one, guys. Tell me more. What restaurant? Does it tell you what restaurants they would go to? Remember, this answer has to be found. You have to be able to put your finger on the text, okay? So if you're close, we could talk about the text. So you talk about how were blacks treated in the... Okay, ready? Yeah, here's how it goes. We're going to start, go down the line, you give your question, and then everybody has to find the answer with their pencil, right? Go. What's your question?
where were people, why people were made to sit on the bus?
Find it. Where were black people forced to sit on the bus? I want to see pencils in there. Let's go. I think make this look bigger. Nope. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I just messed up the over here. Okay, that's okay. All right, somebody answer it. Come up. It's right there in the text. Go. Great. Good. Okay, question. This table, this team. Who's asking the question from you guys? What's your, no, well, your question. Remember, you had a question. What was your question? How were they treated unequally? Now that I would call as a big question, because it doesn't have one right answer, but it's a great question, so I'm going to save that one for last. Ask your question, guys. Was it you that asked the question, or you? Oh, okay. Go. Who said they couldn't ride on the bus? Is that in the text? Can you put your finger on it? I'm not finding it, but maybe you can help me. Do you see it? Oh, white people said they couldn't ride on the bus. Okay, good. That made me go back and look, so that's good. Go ahead. You guys question? What's your question? Yeah, you said one to me, sweetie. You forgot it. I should have had you write it down because now we forgot. Was it where, what? Remember what it was? Okay, how about you guys? Remember? You wrote it down. Yes, tell me about the rail car. Oh, give me the question. How were blacks treated on the rail cars, which are trains? Find it. Put your finger on it. Okay, since it's in the text, I can call in anybody. What's the answer? You don't have to read it, just tell me. How are they treated on the trains? Not forced to sit in the back. I don't think, well, check it and see. Is that what it says? They were forced to sit in the back on the trains? They weren't allowed to ride in the same rail car. You know, trains have different cars in them. Okay, great. All right, where's my big question? Go for it. How were blacks and whites treated unequally? What's your evidence from this passage? Okay, you've got to come up with 3 things. Now I'm going to have you close your books. Close your books. Now I want you to, remember I told you that asking questions helped you to remember? All right, so come up with 3 ways they were treated unequally. Go. Turn and talk. Give me one. How were they treated equally? Okay, restaurants. Give me another one. What else? Water fountains. Was that in the book, or was that in your head? Was water fountains in here, or was it in your head? Okay. Something. So here's what happens. When I'm trying to remember key ideas, I just think of one word. So if I ask myself, how were they treated unequally? That would be a green question because it's answered in the book. How were blacks and whites treated unequally? A key word would be buses. I'm going to remember that. Buses. Is that right? I'm going to put spelling because I don't know if it has two S's or one S. Buses. Buses. Somebody tell me about that? Go. What did the article say about the buses? Exactly. Okay, here's how I work, kids. If we've worked on it together, if I've had you talk about it together, I'm going to call, I don't call on people who raise their hands. Everybody here is fair game for this, okay? Another keyword. Buses, what was another keyword? Water fountains. Tell me.
They had like whites and blacks over the counter.
Good. Give me another keyword. Restaurants. Let's see, who haven't I heard from? Tell me about the restaurants. Bingo. Nice job. Okay? One more. We got buses, we got water fountains, we got restaurant, trains. Okay, so who hasn't shared? Trains. And schools, you're right. So let's do the trains.
And blacks weren't allowed to use the same word as the whites.
Good. Now, here's the why question. Who can think, come on, what's the why question about this part? Why? There you go. And that we're going to have to answer. So here's what's going to happen now. I'm going to work with a small group of kids up here. And then what I want you have been formed into a group, right? So you're going to go to one of the tables, any area in here. You're going to read the next section with your team. For 20 minutes, you're going to read with your team. So you can kind of read it softly. You can read it together, however you want to do it. But on your Post-its, I want you to take your Post-its with you. You have to have one red question and one green question. So you're going to be a team of 3. So you're going to actually have how many Post-its altogether? 6. So you're going to have 6 questions. Any question about what you're going to do? Peach? Okay. And this is what I need. I need my students that are going to come up here and by yourself. And then you're going to be asking questions on your Post-it notes for this. But also, the other thing I'm giving you is a highlighting pen. Oh, Leslie, can you give me the 5 highlighters? Oh. As you're reading, if there are any vocabulary words that you don't know what they mean, and they're kind of tricking you, just highlight them. And that way, when I work with you independently, I can help you. But what I want you to do, if you come across a word that's tricky, just give it a good try and keep going. All right, so let me set my timer. All right. So in this article, you're going to be reading about 2 girls that were, taking a stand for this inequality around the same time. Just to help you introduce it, I'm going to talk to you about some times. So you're going to be reading about one girl in 1951, and her name was Linda, and Linda was 7 years old, and you're going to be reading something that she did that was, she was standing up against this inequality. Then in 1954, you heard about the Brown versus Board of Education. You guys familiar with that? Okay. That's that law that what? What did it require? Okay, that was the law that said you can't have separate schools. That you have to integrate. Blacks and whites have to attend the same schools. That was the Brown versus Board of Education. Brown was Linda's father. That's the connection. Linda's last name is Brown. And so the Brown versus the Board of Education. So you're going to read about why Linda's father sued the Board of Education in Kansas. And then the last thing you're going to be reading about happened in 1957, and her name was Elizabeth. So I'm going to leave this up here just to kind of help you get an idea. If you're coming across and you're reading about Linda, you know this was before the law was passed. But if you're reading about Elizabeth, it was after the law was passed. Good. All right, and just a few words. Vowed. Vowed means to promise. For example, I could say, I vow never to eat a chocolate chip cookie again. I make that promise. I'm not going to keep it, am I? No.
but I can vouch, right? Well, in this book, in this article that you're going to be reading, it's about, I lost my article. Wait a minute, here it is. Okay, the governor of Arkansas, remember this Linda lived in Arkansas. The governor vowed he wouldn't let the blacks come to the white school. Okay, so he promised that. So I want you to turn and talk. Use the word vowed in a sentence. What's something you could vow to do or never to do? Turn and talk. Turn and talk. You talk to me. Say, I vow. What do you promise? Something you really like to do or something you really hate to do? I vow. Can you vow never to lie? Okay. And I vow never to lie. What did you vow? You vowed he's going to play football. I vowed not to talk back. That's a great idea. Okay, another one is unanimous. Unanimous. When something is unanimous, everybody agrees 100%. So let's say your family wants to go out to dinner. If everybody agrees to go to the same place, it is unanimous. In the Brown versus Board of Education, the ruling was unanimous. Everybody agrees. Explain to the person next to you what unanimous means. Turn and talk. You go first. You're going to turn to her, and you're going to turn to me. Okay, good. All right, and then I'm going to erase these. Violation. Now, there's a root word in here that you might know. Violation comes from the word violate. When you violate something, you break the law. So if you drive right now at your age, that's a violation, isn't it? Because you're locking the belt. It's illegal. In this school, if you wear a short skirt, you wouldn't wear a short skirt, but if you wear a short skirt, that would be a violation. Okay, explain something that right now is a violation for you. You go first, and you talk to him. An example that's a violation for you. You cannot do. Doing drugs is, yes, it is a violation. It's against the law. Excellent. And then our last one is historic. And what are you thinking about when you see the word historic? Right. So an historic decision, the Brown versus Board of Education was a historic decision. That means it's something that has gone down in history and everybody remembers. So like the Declaration of Independence was a historic document. Anybody think of something else that's historic? Yes. Martin Luther King's speech. Excellent job. Okay. Any other questions? 9/11 was an historic event. Excellent job. Okay, guys, go ahead and start reading. And what you would need to do is write your question. You're going to do a red question and a green question. So here's your cards. Of red. Oh, you're going to do red questions today. Okay. So you're going to ask red questions about the first section. Okay. When you finish your question, then you can go on to the next section. Okay. And if you want to ask more than two, then you can. I'm going to stop you because Mason did something that you all need to do. When you're asking a right question, you find a fact, something that happened, and then turn it into a question. So I was going to share with Mason. He told me she wanted to look her best for school. So his why question is? Okay, you got it? So your job is to come up with a question. Okay, keep going. I'll help you if you need help.
What's the fact of the internet?
Okay, what do you think?
If it's only a day at school, why is she going on drugs?
Oh, you know what? They wore dresses all the time. They don't get that as a dress. I love, why don't you write a question about this? So people ask me, they want to say not. You gotta find it.
It was not functioning only a day at school.
Stop. Get in the question.
I don't know why it's not functioning at school.
Okay, so that's a big one. Can you put it short on the notes? Put your finger on there where you got that information. Put your finger, okay? You did a great job. Well, and it doesn't tell us how many people like it, does it? It just said many people. I just, Star already asked a question about that part, so I'm wondering if you could do it on this part. Can you read this? Have you read the whole thing, or can you read this to me?
This was not going to be an ordinary first day of school for Elizabeth and 8 other African students. It was September 4th, 1957. And never had a black students that were all white Central High School.
Ooh, can you turn it into a question? What can it say?
8 black
So
children.
we'll start with why. Why hadn't,
Black children stepped foot in all white Central High School.
do you understand what that means? Okay. Oh, great. Oh, you got 2 of them. You got 3 of them. Oh, great job. Share one of your questions with me. What are you thinking? How would have been an ordinary day for Elizabeth? When we have the dresses, what else would have made it an ordinary day? Where would she have gone to school? Where? Not the same when she was going to a... See, where is she going to school here? Something's really important. And tell me more about Central High School. What do you know about Central High? It's significant, it's right here. There you go. So, I love this. What would have happened if it was an ordinary day? She would have what? All right, she would have gone to class. Very good. Give me another one of your questions. Did it say she went in black and white dress? Oh, so she was wearing a black and white dress. I never even thought about that. So here's what I have you do. Since you're really good independent at writing your questions, I want you to put a little A down here and see if you can answer it. Okay? Try this one. Can you answer it? There you go. Wow. Why'd you show me?
The segregation of school.
Segregation unequal. That's a excellent. Such a great question. I really need to know the question. I'm going to take you to the next step. Mason, at the end of these questions now, I want you to put your hands
So why was segregation? What's your real question?
Why would state patrol follow the city patrol by
I'm sorry, one more time, just a little bit slow. You're fast talking. Go ahead.
Why would state officials call Elizabeth right by the blocks? State patrol is in the high school.
Really good question. Wow. Okay. Now, I'm going to take you to the next step too. What's your answer? Do you have any idea what the answer was? It doesn't say it. This is in your head.
The school board determined to adopt the rights of the school.
Even a word that we could describe the officials starts with an R. He was,
Bases.
can you write down all that? The governor? Okay, great job. Okay. Gotta go now. Keep reading from next. Did you read the whole thing? Oh, keep reading until I tell you to stop. Okay, you have which were questions? I want you to go back now and write an answer. This is a really good question. I'm gonna give you a star on this one. Yeah. Do you have any word that we could use to describe that? You wanted it to be separated, okay? And then keep going until I tell you to stop. So now everybody's writing questions and answers, okay? So turn the page. If you're finished with the first page, write 2 more questions and answers about that. What are you writing? This is a big one. You can do it. There you go. Line constitution. Let's stop right there. That's all. You know what I like, Jordan? You know what I like, Jordan? You say, well, in here. That's very good. So I'm going to actually mark right here. There's where you ask your question. Now you're going to take that sentence that you just read and turn it into a why question. Can you come up with it? Okay.
Segregation was unconstitutional.
Very good. Very good. Nice job. Okay, got that one. And then I want to see if you can come up with the answer. That's a really tricky one. Okay, last one. What's your last question that you want? Is Linda's parents going to black school, or is Linda going to black school? You know what I love what you just did? You went right back to the text to reread. That's a great thing. Why don't you reread that again and see if you can fix it for me? Okay, that's a big long sentence. So what are you thinking about? I wonder why Linda's parents wanted. What did they want her to do here? Right. When I try to do this, put it in their own words. Okay. So think about what do they want her to do? Linda's parents want her to go to. Very good. Turn that into a why question. Why? Right there. Right there. Okay. Finish your last question. We're going to talk. Oh, put your name on your paper and mark with a line and put stop to show me how far you read today. Okay? All right,
You're going to pick one of your questions. I want you to pick what you think is the best question to share. Okay? And then you can call on anybody in this group to answer it, even if they're not holding their thumb up. Okay? But if you really want to answer that question, put your thumb up. Would you like to go first, Corbin?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I would say first of all, Carl is in the last round in high school.
Looking for thumbs. Anybody have an answer to that? Thank you. I'm not going to repeat the question. So you have to listen carefully to Corbin when he's saying. Just say a little bit slower because, you know, their ears may not be as fast as your mouth. Go ahead.
I would think Christmas Park was in other blocks when I was in high school.
Attending what kind of high school?
White.
A white-only high school. Yep, we gotta take her. Call on him. Use his name. Call on him. Because she was black. Good. Tell me more. Let's go back to Corbin's question. It's a really good question. Think about this. What does Brown versus Board of Education say in 1945? What did it say? They had to go to integrate the schools, right? But when did Elizabeth walk into this high school? What year? Right. So why did the state governor, state officials of Alabama, Arkansas, what was it? Was it Alabama or Arkansas? Arkansas, say that Elizabeth couldn't go to a white school? What was an idea? Okay, good shot to answer. He was a racist. That's why he made that decision. Okay, now, call on someone to ask their question now. Which one are you going to do? Okay, listen up. Corbin.
Whites and blacks that go together after school.
Okay. If it was an ordinary, let's go back to that part in the text. Okay, can you show them what part it was? Where's an ordinary day? First page, guys. And 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph. Everybody go to that because this is a little bit tricky. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So on May 17th, no, that's not it. Oh, first page. You're thinking if it was an ordinary day today, whites and blacks would go to the same school. But it says this was not going to be an ordinary day for Elizabeth. All right, so what would have been an ordinary day for Elizabeth? Okay, I think Mason had.
That other black student that he said for Central High School.
Right, so describe to me more. What would be an ordinary day for Elizabeth? There you go. Excellent job. Share your question. No, anyone you want. The ones you have, buddy.
Why did black children separate all white school?
You're the ones that not answered, so I'm going to have to call on you. Did you listen to his question? I know you were busy writing. Okay, one more time. Go ahead, Jordan.
Why did black children separate all white school?
Do you want to be judging the color? Let's go back to the text. Where was that part? I think you're right. I'm sure that's how they felt, perhaps, some of them. But we also always go back to the text, right? So can you find that part? Okay, so it's first page, everybody, first page, 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph. And he's in the last sentence. It was September 1947. Never had a black student set foot in a white. So his question was, why hadn't a black student set foot in a white school? Think about the laws before Brown versus Board of Education. And the blacks. Wait a second, now give a chance. Tell me about the blacks. Where did they go to school? There you go. So the blacks weren't allowed to go into a white school, and that's why they had to set foot. Okay, so today you've learned how important it is to write your questions. The next time when you finish this article, or however your teacher's going to do it, you are definitely ready to think about your read questions. But the difference is, you're going to have to star. See how I starred some of the
places where you ask the question, you're gonna like put a number on your question, and you're gonna go to the text and put the number where you found that question. That's gonna help you go back to the text. Thanks, guys. You did a good job. Okay, boys and girls, would you come back? Now you're gonna go ahead and sit with your team, but take your Post-it notes, because I might have you share one of the questions that you asked at the table. Okay, and set my timer for 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, I think this is going to work. What I'm going to do is you're going to get up, you're going to take your article and your Post-it notes, and you 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're going to stand in a circle over here. And one team, whatever question you guys come up with, you're going to ask the other team the question. If they answer it, you get to give them a star. Okay? And then you're going to ask your question to that team. Capiche? Okay. Move. You guys, why don't you come over here? You guys. Okay, I think we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay?
So form over here.
And now remember, some of them haven't read the article. But they have questions for you to answer. So, Yanette, you're going to be able to ask some of your questions too. Okay, let's see. Let me bring, why don't you come over here? And then you 4 can form. Okay, so, remember, they didn't read the same article. They didn't read the same article that you did. So you know what I need to change? Why don't
Corbin, and I'm going to change you guys out.
You know, you have to
Go back. Because nobody was from that, nobody read the article in that group.
Okay.
So now you're in this group.
Okay. All right. So turn like a circle. Geometry. Circle. Go ahead. Okay, so you're going to ask a question to them. Go ahead.
The blacks couldn't do anything the whites couldn't do because the whites got everything handed.
How many states
It's a question.
blacks and whites
That was one that we did together, right? Do you have one that you did with your team?
Black said they're nasty, not good water.
Oh, you missed that. Okay. You knew the answer 20 minutes. Okay, so go ahead and ask your question. Why would they protest? Tell me more. Excellent. Ask a question. Why was segregation unequal? That's a great question. I bet you can answer that one. Star. Why was it unequal though? Why was segregation unequal? They went to different schools and they were treated differently, unfairly. Great. Okay, come on back. Did anybody have a question that the other team couldn't answer? I'm just curious. You did. Great. So you're going to ask your question.
Go ahead.
Good. Mic here. Here, I'll let you have the microphone.
Who bans
I wonder why. Start with that. Go ahead.
I wonder why High Court bans school segregation.
I wonder why the High Court, which was the Supreme Court, banned school segregation.
Ooh, they couldn't answer that, right?
Okay, so go ahead and turn and talk about it, see what you can come up with. Why did they ban school
School segregation. Put your finger on it in the paper. It's in the article. Go back. Oh, you know what? It might not be in your article. This is cool. But it was in your article. Who was at the table with me? Okay? Look here. You should be able to answer that question. Why did the High Court ban school segregation? right here. Put your thumb up when you understand it. Why did they ban it? You know. You know, Jordan, because it was your question.
Oh, that's not Jordan. Jordan's over
Jordan,
there.
tell me your name again. Seth. I wrote down the wrong name. Where's Jordan? Okay, there you go. Do you remember why they banned it? You're so close. There you go. Because segregation was, you say it, unconstitutional. It was against the law. It was a violation of the Constitution. Good job. You guys can go back to class. Let's give them a hand.